All right, it sounds like that press conference out in front of that Manhattan Federal Courthouse is just about ready to get underway. Again, earlier today, really just moments ago, a couple of hours ago, the judge denied bond for Sean Diddy Combs, and I believe that press conference has just begun. Let's take you out there to Manhattan right now.
I can tell you that I talked to Sean. For those of you who know, I've known him for almost 20 years. And he's thankful, he's relieved, and he thanks the jurors. I think the jurors did what jurors do, which is they saw through an overcharged, overzealous, kind of a crazy prosecution, and they did the right thing. And that's why, you know, when people talk about tyranny and fascism and everything else, as long as you've got a jury system that works, that's what separates us from the rest of the world. And Sean is thankful. As a helicopter parent, I couldn't be prouder, and I'll let them talk. I don't want to steal their thunder.
Were you surprised, though, that he was denied bail?
That doesn't really, the bail, I think, is besides the point. He was acquitted of the trafficking. He was acquitted of the RICO. Those were always, I thought, as an observer, a ridiculous use of taxpayer resources. This case was never what it was made out to be. This case was ridiculous in so many different ways, and I'm just thankful that the jury saw through it.
But he's facing prison time.
Sean is, you know, the interesting thing about prison is it's a timeout, and he's had a lot of time to reflect, and he's in a good place mentally, and frankly, I'm proud of him. And by the way, for those of you who may miss it, the defense didn't put on a single witness. The defense tried their case within the prosecution case. And at the end of the day, it's a colossal failure by the prosecution.
All right, so that was Mark Geragos. Now, he has, as he said, known Diddy for 20 years, represented him years ago, and his daughter, Tenny Geragos, was the defense attorney in this particular case, and said a couple of interesting things. The last one I will mention is that he said prison is like a timeout, and he said that Sean is really in a good place mentally. Interesting, and the important thing to remember here is that he was acquitted of the more serious charges of racketeering and sex trafficking. Let me bring in my guest, still with us to discuss, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor David Bruno. David, I want to get your reaction. First and foremost, let's start with the original verdict by this jury, finding him not guilty of the more serious charges of that racketeering, sex trafficking, but did find him guilty of transporting for the purpose of prostitution. Could have faced up to 10 years, according to sentencing guidelines. I think it's anywhere between 2 and 5 years. Your quick reaction to that?
Yeah, a good day for Diddy, no doubt about it. You know, yeah, he lost that detention motion, but you know, these charges that he's found guilty of have no mandatory minimums whatsoever. What that means is there's maximums of 10. He could theoretically be sentenced to time served. The guidelines are relatively low. You're talking about anywhere from a little over 2 to upwards of 5.5. The prosecutor in their detention motion today saying that he's exposed to 51 to 63 months, and that's because of the enhancements on the federal sentencing guidelines off this base offense, which is 15 to 21. So on the charge, he generally is in 15 to 21, but they're arguing multiple victims. They're also arguing obstruction of justice, and they're arguing the grouping and duress as well. So there are a number of things that the prosecutor's trying to do to jack it up up on the guidelines. But with that being said, it's still going to be within the judge's discretion, somewhere in the minimum, in that range, so to speak. And the sentencing guidelines are discretionary. Usually that's where the judges go. But at the time he steps in front of that court for sentencing, he's going to have a considerable amount of time served, Michael, where I would imagine that the defense attorneys are going to be arguing for time served, hoping, and then even if, he's likely going to be in a camp for the rest of his time. So a good day for Diddy, considering that he could have been exposed to a lifetime in prison on the top counts, and he was acquitted on those counts, and he's only left with these 2 counts that do not have mandatory minimums.
Yeah, fair enough. And folks, we just heard from Mark Geragos. He's the father of one of the defense attorneys, Tenny Geragos, also good friends with Sean Diddy Combs, has represented him in the past. We're waiting, I believe, he said in a few minutes his daughter will come out, speak for herself, so we're waiting for that to happen. So let's go now, David, to the denial of bond in this case. One of the things that the judge said was that he still, I guess, considers Sean Diddy Combs a threat to the community because, again, he's someone who has participated in and clearly was involved in and admitted to domestic violence.
Yes, let me explain this, okay? Because I do have the filing of the government. And what they were arguing, and the judge did follow this, is that the Bail Reform Act it demands mandatory detention because of the violent crime. And the Mann Act, which is in Chapter 117, is in that chapter that's defined as violence. So basically, following that law, it shall be detained unless there's 2 things that happen: that there's a substantial likelihood of an acquittal or a new trial on appeal. The government recommends no jail. That did not happen. And clear and convincing evidence that the person is not likely to flee or pose a danger to another person or the community. So what happened was, because of the violence that is defined in the code and that the Mann Act falls under the crimes of violence, it was a shall detain that shifted the burden to the defense, and they would have had to prove those 2 prongs, which they could not. That's why the question of violence was so important for that detention hearing. And you heard from the court saying to the defense counsel, well, in your closing argument, you conceded violence. You conceded that there was domestic violence, but it didn't rise to a level of sex trafficking or racketeering. And with that being said, now the question becomes, was that violence for the purposes of detention? Who had the burden? And once it was defined as violence, the government argued it, that then it shifted to the defense because of the act of violence.
All right, David, stand by for a second. I hate to cut you off, but it looks like the defense team is now standing in front of the mic. There we see Mr. Agnifilo. We also see Tenny Geragos as well standing by there. Here's what we're going to do, folks. I want you to stand by. We're going to hit the pause button here. All right, we're gonna hold on here. We're gonna hit the pause button. We'll get to the entire thing. Right now, we'll take a break. Thanks to David Bruno. He's gonna be sticking around because coming up, we're gonna have extended coverage of the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking trial. So keep it here on Court TV. That begins right after the break. Welcome back to our special coverage of the verdict reached in the Sean Combs sex trafficking trial. I'm Michael Ayala. We do want to get you right out to that press conference where Diddy's defense team is speaking.
It's not a party till we're all here. All right. Thank you all for being patient. Am I speaking loud enough? You all can hear me okay? All right. Today's a great victory. It's a great victory for Sean Combs. It's a great victory for the jury system. You saw that the Southern District of New York prosecutors came at him with all that they had. They're not stopping, but one thing stands between all of us and a prison, and that is a jury of 12 citizens. And we had a wonderful jury. They listened to every word, and they got the situation right, or certainly right enough. They acquitted him of the sex trafficking, which he was absolutely innocent of. They acquitted him of the racketeering conspiracy that he was absolutely innocent of, and all of the components to it. The kidnapping, he was innocent of that. The arson, he was innocent of that. The obstructing justice, he was innocent of that. And that is no longer just me saying that. That is the verdict of our jury. So today's a great day. Today is a win. Today is a victory of all victories for Sean Combs and our legal team. And I want to say one thing. There are very few people around whom a legal team could coalesce and become one. And Sean Combs is that person, and we are all blessed to be part of it. And I am now done speaking to you, and I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Geragos.
All right, I first want to thank my client, Sean Combs, for trusting us, myself and everybody here, this incredible dream team that he put together. Without him, we would not have been able to do this. He is incredible, and I want to thank him. I want to thank the jury for putting such great care into this case. They came early every single day, and I want to thank them, as I said in my opening, standing between all of us and the drastic consequences of the criminal convictions of sex trafficking, and RICO is a jury of our peers. And I thank them. I want to thank the judge, and I want to thank, despite the terrible conditions at the MDC, I want to thank the good people who worked there, who ensured that we had sufficient amount of time to prepare for trial. It is extremely difficult to prepare for a federal case in the conditions at the MDC, and they did everything they could to make that happen. I want to thank them. I also have been saying this since the beginning of this case. Sean Combs has not sexually assaulted anybody. I've been saying this for months. We've said it with each lawsuit that came out, and today that was proven true. The media got it wrong about Sean Combs every single day for nearly 2 years. I ask that for every time you guys see a civil lawsuit, criminal complaints or criminal indictments, you actually take a look and analyze these and see whether or not these are actually going to stand up in a court of law, because today they did not. He has not sexually assaulted anybody, certainly hasn't sex trafficked anybody, and the jury found that today. Thank you.
Can you tell us what Mr. Combs
I am now going to pass this over to Mr. Steele.
Good evening. Good evening. I want to thank the ladies and gentlemen to my right and my left. There is not a better group of honest and ethical, hardworking and zealous lawyers, and I especially wish to thank Mark and Tenny for allowing me and everyone else to come together. On behalf of my family, myself, I wish to thank you all for being here and writing truthfully about a man wrongly charged with most of the crimes, and that we all must remember that allegations are nothing. And I'd like to thank Sean for letting me be here. Thank you all. God bless you.
What does your client want to say when he raises his hand?
Thankfully, in our country, we have a right to a jury trial. And thankfully, Mr. Combs took that right. He actually battled for his freedom, for his innocence. He did it. And a lot of times, you know, people are too afraid to do it. And he did it, and we're so happy that he did. We're proud of him. We are completely honored that he put his faith and his trust in us to fight for him. Today is a major win to show what the system can do. We appreciate and we're so thankful to the jury Thank you to the court. Thank you, New York. It's been a pleasure being here and fighting in your district. Thank you so much. And listen, we appreciate the media. We do. There was a lot of reporting on the accusations. There was a lot of reporting on the indictment. Please report just as vigorously on the acquittal of these counts, please, because that's also the right thing to do. Thank you.
Oh, sure. Good afternoon, good afternoon. So, first of all, I want to thank this wonderful team behind me. I am so happy that they allowed me to join it. I would like to say that I've done a lot of trials, but this is probably the most special one to me. And most important, I want everyone to know the job is not done yet. We're not finished, the job is not done yet. And so I want to, again, thank Mark, Tenny, and the rest of these wonderful lawyers behind us. They did a fantastic job. And like those before me have said, our system, the jury system, is important. We need good people to serve on juries. We need good people to come and say a person is not guilty. Take that courage to do that. It's okay. We want you to serve on juries. This particular jury was a special jury. It was fantastic. It listened. It paid attention. It put the nonsense to the side. It put the distractions to the side and came to a lawfully good, just conclusion. Juries are important. Juries are important. But more important than that, I think, is people wanting to be on juries. So for all of you all listening, for all you out there in the public, please accept the call, become a juror, and do the right thing. Thank you very much.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
It is such a privilege to be a part of this legal team, this amazing legal team, and to represent Sean Combs. And this is a reminder to everyone, I hope, about the flaws in the criminal justice system, and for everyone to take a second look when the government charges people with crimes, and especially when the Southern District of New York does here. And so I hope everyone takes that seriously. And we take this as an enormous victory and win. This is a huge win. He was acquitted of sex trafficking, acquitted of RICO conspiracy, and he will be able to sleep well at night knowing that. Okay, thank you to everyone. I appreciate you.
What did you think about the bail decision?
Jason.
Guys, can any of you share what Mr.
Well, I want to start just by thanking my family and the families of each of the lawyers here for giving us the space and the time to serve Sean and to fight for Sean. I want to thank the court for giving us a fair fight. And you see what happens when you have a good defense team come together in front of a court that gives the defense team a fair fight. And finally, I just want to thank Sean for giving me the honor and the privilege of serving him. Thank you.
I feel like there's not a lot more that I can say because of these wonderful people have really said all there is to say, but I do want to thank Sean for the privilege of this opportunity to help him clear his name after all, with the Southern District coming after him, guns blazing. It really is a testament to the fact that when you get a fair trial and a jury of your peers listens to the evidence, they will do the right thing. And I just want to say again how proud I am to be part of this team and to have helped Sean get a just verdict.
Are you going to appeal the Manic? Guys, can anyone share what Mr. Combs wanted to say in court when he raised his hand during the bail hearing? Does anyone know?
No.
Mark, what did you think about the bail decision? Can you talk about the bail decision and the judge using defense's own words during trial about violence?
I'm not going to talk about the bail decision because it's still a pending unresolved matter. And I don't think we're going to take any more questions. I want to thank you all. You guys have been so diligent and dedicated. I pass you guys in the rain. I walk by you in the sun, and you're all out here every day. I just want to thank you. But I don't think we're going to take any questions.
Can you take us through the ups and downs of the day, though? Because Mr. Combs got acquittals on the major charges.
maybe thought he could go home tonight and then was told he couldn't.
So a lot of these things are still in process. I mean, the one thing I'm going to leave you with this. We are not nearly done fighting. We are just getting started. To win this and to defeat the prosecutors from the Southern District of New York takes effort from beginning to end. Today was a major, major step in the right direction, but we fight on and we're going to win, and we're not going to stop until he walks out of prison a free man to his family. Thank you all for coming.
Did he say anything when the verdict was read?
All right, an extremely happy and jubilant defense team there, sort of heralding a couple of different things. Number one, Sean Combs, for allowing him to represent them, the ability to represent them, the jury system. And they were sure to say that this jury worked hard and got it right, listened throughout the trial, and also I made a point of, I think, pointing out that this was a bit of an overreach by the government, and the opportunity to fight back against the federal government was a pleasure, and that they were very proud of their victory, one they called a great victory. And again, I will point out, federal prosecutors don't lose very often. All right, let's bring in Court TV legal correspondent Kelly Craft. She is outside that federal courthouse in Manhattan. Kelly?
Michael, that news conference is just wrapping up, taking place right behind me. Those are the outside steps going into that federal courthouse where we have gone every single day for the last 2 months. And Mark Agnifilo, Sean Combs' defense counsel, just ended that news conference saying, we are not done fighting to win this and defeat the prosecutors here of the Southern District of New York. When we came here 2 months ago to begin covering this trial, Michael, and walked through those doors, everyone said to us, when somebody comes here, they go out of here, really, it's like you're sending them to the grave, because we get convictions here. That was the word on the street and even inside that courthouse from everyone. And with Mark's words, he's basically saying that exact same thing, that they came after him, and to defeat them, that is a very big situation. And that is why they are saying victory today, Michael. So you heard Mark Agnifilo there, as well as his entire defense team. One of the things that they talked about was the jury in this case. They are very thankful for the jury. They called it a special jury. And we sat there inside on floor 26, Michael, where this federal court case was taking place. And we were able to take a look at the jurors as they listened to the witness testimony. And when you looked at the faces of some of those juries, and I will say especially some of the women, and they listened to the women testify and talk about what they had been through, it's as if you could feel that some of the people on the jury had experienced, I'm not saying the exact same situation, because this, of course, is Sean Diddy Combs, and you were involved in a situation, if you were affiliated with him, that's larger than life. But it was as if some people on that jury, in particular the women, were thinking, gosh, some of these situations sound similar to maybe people I know or things that have happened to me, and they are not charged with crimes. And we're having women come up here and talk about how they were willing participants at first. And as hard as it is for the victims in this case to come forward and the bravery it took for them to come forward, you saw a message here from the jury today with the acquittal on some of the most serious charges, because as defense counsel like to argue in court, especially during the cross-examination of several of the witnesses, these women were capable adults and willing participants in Sean Diddy Combs' lifestyle. So the jurors sent this message by acquitting him, Michael, on the most serious charges. And again, as you just heard defense counsel talk about, today is a great victory for Sean Diddy Combs. They say they were honored to represent him. He didn't want to speak to the bail because, as you heard, Michael, they're still probably going to appeal that, trying to get him out, because they say there's extraordinary circumstances that exist here, in particular pointing to the fact that he was a user of prostitution. That's what he was convicted of. The intent to engage in prostitution. He was a user of prostitution, and really there's not enough case law to support him being held.
All right, well, Kelly Craft, they say they will continue to fight until he is home with his family. We'll continue to watch this closely.